Welcome to Diversity Xtra with your host, Don McKneely.
And hello, everybody. I'm Don McKneely, and thank you for joining us on Diversity Xtra, where the conversation today is about diversity, inclusion, and business success. Our guest today is Margo Posey. She's the Chief Executive Officer and President of the Dallas-Fort Worth Minority Supply Development Council. Margo, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
As we get started, let me share a bit of background about Margo and some of the things that she's done and what she does at the council. Margo is the President and Chief Executive Officer of the Dallas-Fort Worth Minority Supply Development Council. And also, a little information about the council. The council certifies minority-owned businesses and provides development and training, as well as connects minority-owned businesses with opportunities and advocates on behalf of minority-owned businesses and entities committed to minority business inclusion within their supply buying chains. In 2011, the Department of Commerce issued the Dallas-Fort Worth Minority Supply Development Council, a MBDA, which stands for Minority Business Development Agency, a grant to operate a Minority Business Development Center. The center has been ranked as outstanding in performance 6 out of 7 years since inception, impacting over $1 billion in contracts awarded to minority-owned businesses, plus $70 million in capital to clients and job creation with a retention of 900 plus individuals. Margo served on the executive committee and the board of directors of the National Minority Supply Development Council, representing 23 affiliate presidents from 2014 to 2017. Again, Margo, thank you for joining us. As we get started, let's talk a little bit about your background, Margo, prior to you joining the council. Can you talk to that a little bit?
Absolutely. I started my professional career negotiating bodily injury claims for one of the major insurance companies. I left there and spent about 6 years in banking. I went on to work for a Fortune 500 company, then a minority-owned business, and got the bug and started my own business where I was able to serve clients that were very small up to a Fortune 50 client.
Let me ask you, Margo, in leaving corporate America and after starting your own business, what motivated you to join a nonprofit organization?
That's an interesting question because I never looked at it as a nonprofit organization. The Dallas-Fort Worth Minority Supplier Development Council was going through a bit of turbulence. They did a national search. Someone actually gave me a call and said, you might want to look into this. And the council hired me to be a change agent through a transition period. Due to the affiliation agreement with the National Minority Supplier Development Council, the local or regional council, our council, could only serve ethnic minorities. And that's not what was happening at the time. And so I was very privileged and humbled to work to establish and incorporate the Women's Business Council Southwest. That's not what it was called at the time. It was just the Women's Business Council. But what we learned through the process, and when I say we, I'm talking about council, minority-owned businesses, women-owned businesses. What we truly learned was that there was a need for more efforts, more programming, and more inclusion at the supply chain level. So That was exciting and that was motivating. But just like any business, your business is constantly changing, and you solve one concern or issue, or you do what you need to do, and then there's something else that comes up. So the council is constantly evolving, and I'd say, like any other business, we change about every 5 years. The needs are still there, but how we work to affect changes to help our stakeholders sometimes have to change.
So, Margo, what year did you actually join the council?
I actually joined the council December 1st of 1992.
Wow. So that's almost a quarter century, isn't it?
It is, Don. You didn't have to say it quite like that.
Well, as Dr. Martin Luther King says, longevity has its place.
It does.
So,
it does.
Can you tell us a bit more about the council in terms of exactly what the council does?
Absolutely. The council just recently celebrated 45 years of existence. It was founded in 1973 by corporate members that were looking at how they could do more business with ethnic minorities. At that time, I'm going to say in Dallas, we're probably talking about African Americans and Hispanics. But over the years, we certainly have evolved where we serve Asians, Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans as beneficiaries of our services. We follow the National Minority Supplier Development Council guidelines of providing 4 pillars. Those 4 pillars are certification, connecting, development, and advocacy. You mentioned that in the intro, but I will tell you that certification is key. We provide certification for our buying entity partners. We consider buying entity partners corporations and public sector agencies that are looking to do business with ethnic minorities. We provide that service of certification so they don't have to do that internally. We're considered the gold standard of certification across the country because NMSDC certification is standardized and it is accepted by 95% of all major corporations and public sector companies as well. We also help develop minority businesses through a variety of programs on how to read contracts to hiring the best employees, which we know is really critical in this age because everyone is looking for great talent, and talent acquisition is so key and again so crucial to a business's success. What I tell you that we do best is connecting. Okay, we connect corporations and public sector agencies with minority-owned businesses for the purpose of opportunities and utilization. And then last, we advocate on behalf of minority-owned businesses and those businesses that are doing business with minority-owned businesses.
So the minority-owned businesses have really found the council to be a valuable ally in helping to grow their businesses. Is that correct, Margo?
Oh, I believe so. I don't want to pat myself on the back or the council on the back, but that's absolutely what we do. So, for example, if you get certified with the Dallas-Fort Worth Minority Supplier Development Council, not only do you have ethnic minority certification, but you also receive State of Texas Hub certification, and you receive SBE certification, that's Small Business Enterprise certification, if you meet the requirements of both of those certification programs. But that's one-stop shopping. almost. So you go to one place, you get 3 certifications, and I think that relieves a lot of stress and also gives you back time if you're a minority-owned business going through that process. But again, we also have development series that will help our MBEs and true networking with the right people for the right opportunities. We have a variety of events that bring corporations, public sector agencies, supplier diversity professionals out, but also their buyers, their end users, and their senior level folks. And that's great interaction for our minority-owned businesses.
Margo, let me ask you, in terms of change, how has the minority business supply development arena changed over the last 20, 25 years or so since you've been involved? Have you seen a lot of changes?
I have seen changes. When you think about it, in 1973, when the council was first formed, we really were looking for minority-owned businesses. Corporate America was looking for minority-owned businesses that they could do business with. And that wasn't always across the board in terms of fields or disciplines. There was sometimes a myth that minority-owned businesses were very small or they were relegated to certain industries. That's not the case in 2019. We have minority-owned businesses that are in every arena, from architect and engineers to construction, IT, professional services, you name it. We're going to have MBEs that can satisfy corporate America's needs, and certainly the public sector needs as well. I have to share this with you, Don. And 5 years ago, I had an MBE that came to me because he was looking out how he could help our corporate members go to Mars. Now, 5 years ago, when he first brought that notion to me, I was a little suspect. But clearly, we see that happening now. And there's several companies that are doing the same thing that he was talking about doing 5 years ago. So I see that our MBEs are very innovative and progressive. And those are some of the good things that changed. I would tell you that in the early 90s, I think you had more CEO involvement with programs internally. I think that part of that is changed in that may not be a top 4 priority of a CEO now, just with the economy and everything else that's happening. So that's a change that I've seen over the years. That's not to say our CEOs are not committed, but it's fallen a little bit, and I am a little bit concerned about that.
Well, in terms of the growth of corporate members and corporate partners in the council, that seems to be growing from what I've been able to see at a distance. Is that in fact the case? Are you gaining new members, corporate members that join the council?
We are gaining new corporate members. Now let's be realistic and say that our neck of the woods, North Texas, has grown substantially over the last 5 years and is continuously growing. And the good news with that is these new companies come to Texas, they come to North Texas, they've identified the fact that they do need to do business with ethnic minority businesses, and therefore we are seeing an increase in new members.
You know, you always think about challenges that exist for small businesses, minority-owned businesses. What are some of the key challenges that minority businesses maybe generally face or have faced that you can see?
Don, there's three that are on the top of my list: access to capital, network access, and marketplace discrimination. Let me spend just a little bit of time on access to capital, because that's one of the areas that the council is really trying to impact in 2019. Minority businesses oftentimes, like other small businesses, this is across the board, end up having to pay Peter and rob from Paul, or however that saying goes. And so oftentimes their balance sheet or their P&L doesn't look as friendly to a banker or to a bonding agent. And so it's difficult oftentimes to get the credit. The other issue that's out there is that pay cycles from corporations to public sector agencies, you name it, they're longer pay cycles. And minority businesses often don't have the capital to fund a project for 90 days, 120 days. Bonding becomes an issue. And that's where we're looking at making a difference in 2019. We started a bonding program where we have a bonding consultant. You call our 800 number, and they will help you with the application. They'll tell you what you need. And so they'll work through the process, so the first time out, when you visit that bonding person or that banker, you have a good application, because first impressions are so key, and we want to make sure that our stakeholders are prepared, and that's what we're doing. And then we're also introducing those applicants to the right people in the industry. Bonding agents that have a palate for a little bit more risk, or bankers or banks that are palatable to actually providing loans to minority-owned businesses.
In the current economy and the current dynamics in the marketplace, what would you suggest to minority businesses that are in business? What need they do to stay viable and relevant in today's climate?
Don, it's continuing evolution. Minority-owned businesses are some of the best businesses out there, but they have to continue to be fluid, robust. I say innovative, but innovative is just keeping up with your client and your customers' needs, and understanding where your customer is and what they need. So often we don't listen hard enough, and we have to be listening and then act with speed and agility.
Let me double back on something else. Earlier, you mentioned, I believe you mentioned certification. And so how important is it for a minority business to be certified? And what is that process?
So certification is key. It's very important to corporations, public sector agencies, when they're doing business, and also counting their spend. So, Don, I know you know this because you were a founder of the $1 Billion Roundtable. The $1 Billion Roundtable is an entity, organization that tracks and recognizes those corporations that do $1 billion worth of spend with minorities in a calendar year. Did I get that right?
You did.
Okay.
You did.
And so if you want to be counted within that spend, you must be certified. If you're an ethnic minority, you must be certified by the National Minority Supplier Development Council Network. There's other agencies that they also accept certification, but the NMSDC and WeBank were the first organizations that the $1 billion roundtable required certification from. And so you've got companies like the Big Three Auto, IBM, AT&T, and again, Don, you're a founding member, so I don't have to tell you all of the folks that are in the $1 billion roundtable. But they use that to validate that companies truly are ethnic, minority-owned, or women-owned.
In terms of the future, as we look down the road for minority business, if you had the crystal ball and you looked at that, Margo, what does minority business look like from that perspective? And I say that perspective because we see demographic shifts all across the country. We see more, immigration. We see more talent coming in from offshore. So if you had to take a stab at the future of minority business, what would that look like?
Interestingly enough, you mentioned demographics, and demographics have changed. They will continue to change. When you look at the growth of minority businesses and who's starting business, we're seeing a lot more minority businesses, and we're also seeing quicker, faster pace growth in the minority business community as it relates to minority businesses. You're right. If I had a crystal ball, I probably wouldn't be sitting here right now. But I will tell you that businesses are growing. By 2050, I don't know what our landscape will look like. We probably will not be a minority-majority world any longer. We all may be minorities. So that will change how we look at the minority space. But minority businesses are growing, and I believe the future is bright.
Well, thank you, Margo. Certainly appreciate that. I guess in terms of potential suppliers and potential corporate members that would like to support and become a part of the Dallas-Fort Worth Minority Supplier Development Council, what is the best way for them to reach out to the council and get involved?
The first thing I think anyone that's looking at being engaged with the council, they need to go to our website. Our website is www.dfwmsdc.com. Our website has a plethora of information, and you can find out history. But you can also understand real life time activities. All of our activities are open to the public. We do charge fees for certain activities and events, but that will give any interested party an opportunity to better understand what it is that we do and how we execute on programming. We also have several white papers, a resource library on the website that will provide additional information, not just on the council, but on the minority business arena, if you will. So absolutely, I'd suggest that that's the first step. And then call us. Our number is 214-630-0747, and anyone at the front desk can actually help you in navigating through any of the questions that you might have on the council.
Thank you, Margo. And as the saying goes, time flies when you're having fun. So let me thank our listening audience for joining us today on Diversity Xtra. And if the listening audience would like to replay this segment of the program, you can find us on YouTube, Facebook, and many of your other social media platforms. Do visit our website, www.diversityxtra.com, and that's extra, no E, just a big X. Okay, do visit our site, and we'll look forward to seeing you again on the next program where we tell your story.